Hey everyone, it's been a while again since I've made one of these videos, and this is probably the most requested collection video that I've had the pleasure of making. This is probably my smallest collection. Unlike my 3DS and DS collections and my Pokemon and Final Fantasy collections and all the other collection videos I've done, I've had time to accumulate those collections over time. This is still a recent console with a lot of games I still plan to get in the future. I actually want to just get straight into the video by just talking about the Switch itself. This is actually my Nintendo Switch, and I do have like a rubber kind of like casing for the Joy-Cons, but as you can probably tell if you look on the table, I have different Joy-Cons actually that I've accumulated over time. The Switch I ended up getting was the Animal Crossing Switch that you see over here. It has a really nice pattern on the back. This was one of those that I just kind of wanted to get because of how simple it was. It wasn't like over the top or anything. But you guys know from my 3DS collection video that I'm really into actually Animal Crossing, and even though I'm not completely caught up with like New Horizons or anything, I still want to try to get back into it when I can. I had a comment on my last video talking about Animal Crossing New Horizons and saying, hey, did you get back into it? And I certainly did, just because of those news updates. It's kind of crazy how this particular Switch and this particular version of Animal Crossing blew up, but it was just one of those perfect storms. Like, it came during the height of COVID. Everyone was home, and then just everyone wanted to play video games, and that was fine, for a little while. So it was hard to find for sure, but I'm glad that we were able to get something this special. So as for the docks I got for the Switch, I do have the Animal Crossing one that came with the collector's edition. This one's very cute, and I struggle to want to use this because I have cats, and honestly they can be assholes sometimes and just drop my shit. So I already have kind of a mark on this one, and even though it's on the back, it still kind of bugs me and scares me to have this out. So I did end up getting one of these. This was a Pikachu and Eevee one, I believe from the Let's Go games. It was actually a gift, now that I'm thinking about it, but it was just there so I wouldn't continue to damage this one. The next thing I want to talk about are actually the Joy-Cons. Now, the Joy-Cons I usually use for my Switch are the standard gray ones that I actually bought separately. Main reason why is because if these get Joy-Con drift, I don't really give a shit. I can send these to Nintendo and get them back and I'll be fine. I still wanted to get the collector's edition version of some Joy-Cons, like these fantastic Skyward Sword Zelda ones. Skyward Sword is a game I'm actually playing through right now, and I'll talk about that more and when I talk about the actual game collection, but honestly, this is probably one of my favorites because of the colors. I really like purple. I'm very much a purple guy, and the blue is really, really nice. This is actually probably my favorite Joy-Con or favorite controllers that I've ever used, and I struggle to use them. I kind of only use them when I'm playing Skyward Sword on the TV, and then when I'm not playing Skyward Sword on the TV, I kind of put them away in a drawer to try to keep them and preserve them for as long as possible. And the second pair of Joy-Cons I have are the Animal Crossing ones. I kind of had to cross my hands because I carried the wrong one in my hand, or maybe the right one, because if I hold it like this, it's... Anyways, I really like these to the point where I also don't want to use them, but I'm kind of being... I guess I'm more open to using them now because they're not my favorite anymore. But at the time when these came out, these Joy-Cons were my favorite Joy-Cons. The Zelda ones came in later, and I was like, oh, these ones are actually not my favorite anymore, so I've kind of been more open to using these, but I'm also scared to get Joy-Con drift on these special edition Joy-Cons. Nintendo, fix your fucking Joy-Con drift. You're probably not going to, but it is what it is. Alright, now that I talked about the Switch and the accessories and all that stuff, let's go ahead and get down to the meat and potatoes, like the reason why you actually are here, the game collection itself. I'm actually going to start with the game I'm currently playing, which is The Legend of Zelda Skyward Sword. This is a game I've been postponing to play for years. I do have the Wii Collector's Edition with the gold Wii remote and everything, and I was going to play that for years, but I struggled to connect the Wii for like years, to be perfectly honest with you, and just playing it on the go just makes it a lot easier. It's hard for me to really keep playing this game because I know everything that happens in it. Not because I've looked for everything that happens in it, but just because at the time when I was younger, I guess I just had my friends spoil it for me because everyone was playing it at the time. And when I was a kid, I couldn't really play it because I was just going through some stuff at home. I would just say like some childhood trauma was going on at home and I couldn't really get into playing Skyward Sword. So it's kind of hard for me to go through the game knowing what happens, but I'm honestly still having a fun time with it. It's quite different from like the Zelda games that came before. I have seen a lot of reviews that's talking about how much you love the motion controls, and I don't know if it's just me. And maybe I'm spoiled because I have the new like actions with the right C stick, or I should say right stick, where you can kind of just use the sword movements with that. I'm not loving the combat. I don't know why. I don't know if I'm spoiled from Breath of the Wild, because I played every other Zelda game except for this. And so playing through this, it's kind of weird because I feel like I'm taking a step back in terms of like fighting, and I feel like sometimes I have fun with fighting. It's just something about the motion controls and the way that even when you use the C stick, it just feels off. Maybe I have to use the motion controls more often, but usually when I'm playing my Switch, it's like in my bed or something, like, so I don't want to like sit up and start using motion controls. Maybe that's just me being lazy and I just gotta get my ass up and just start playing with motion controls to really enjoy this game. I guess once I finish this game, I'll make a Zelda collection video and then kind of give you my thoughts on this one, but I'm loving everything else. Like, the story is pretty beautiful. I love the art style. I think the graphics are pretty fun. I like the characters a lot, especially compared to other Zelda games that I've run through recently, but it's just the combat. I guess that's the only thing that gets to me. I even like certain things where it's just, I guess, throwing bombs. Like, there's just little things that I do enjoy that you use like the motion controls for, or the C stick, but it's just the combat that gets to me, that I still have to get over and just give it more of a fighting chance. I just beat the first dungeon and I'm currently on the second one, which is more volcanic, so you know, give me some time and I'll give you some updated thoughts. And the second one I have up here is Link's Awakening. Now, this is a pretty fun game that I actually have a lot of nostalgia for. I played Link's Awakening on the 3DS from start to finish, the original Game Boy not Advance, sorry, just the original Game Boy Color version. And I'm having a great time with it, with this particular version of Link's Awakening. It's a fun remake. I did not pay $60 for this. In fact, this was a gift, and I believe the person that gave it to me got it for me because it was on discount. So for me, that's worth it. $60 for like a remastered Game Boy game? I don't know. I wish it ran a little smoother from time to time. I had noticed some frame drops, but I didn't want to really get into this particular version of the game until I finished Skyward Sword, so I haven't gone as far as I wanted to. But it is very similar and very faithful to the original, so in a lot of ways, I really like the small additions, maybe to like adding graphics here and there, and maybe some, I guess, extra story cutscenes and some things that makes traveling the world a little bit more convenient. But I just have to really go through the game again and complete it. This is probably one of the most sad Zelda games I've ever played. If you really like this art style, I think you're going to really love this game. It's really cute. I definitely think you should give it a chance. So the next game on my list is The World Ends With You. I honestly probably will never open this because I've just enjoyed playing the DS version just so much more. The controls for this is pretty bad, especially if you're using the motion controls. If you're playing on the Switch in handheld mode, it's perfectly fine. It's just, I wanted to play this on the TV because I wanted to hear the updated music, because the music in this game is pretty incredible. The graphics and the story has been really, really fun to relive on the Switch. It just controls a lot better for the DS, and I know that's just because it was originally made for the DS, so it just makes the most sense. There are just some things that just work better on the original systems, and even though the music and the graphics were much updated on this version, and while most people can actually pretty much enjoy it, I still prefer to play the DS version, even though I know I'm losing some graphical quality, just due to the fact that I just enjoy playing it on that a little bit more. But the presentation in this version of the game is really fun. I don't want to spoil too much about the story, to be perfectly honest with you, but it's a really fun game and it's really cool. It's very unique and it has a very unique story. You actually get attached to these characters really fast, which is surprising, especially for an RPG. I feel like a lot of JRPGs, it takes time to like really get into the characters and everything, but in this particular case, I got into them really fast and I related to it right away. So I would give The World Ends With You a chance. If you have it on Switch, just make sure you play it in handheld mode. The two games that everyone usually has on the Switch is Mario Kart and Smash. I don't have Mario Kart because I'm gonna probably get some hate for this. I'm just not a fan of Mario Kart. I don't find it to be fun, and maybe it's because I suck at it. I'll be honest with you. I suck at Mario Kart. I'm terrible, and I just don't enjoy it. But Smash, I've been playing since, honestly, like the original, just a tad bit, but I really got into Smash with Melee, and I remember putting thousands of hours in that game. I'm not a competitive player. I'm not a competitive Melee guy or anything like that, but I just have a lot of knowledge of how to play Smash, and just kind of, I think I'm pretty good at Smash. Every time I've gone to a party with a friend, there's always like that one guy that's like really amazing, but it's, I mean, usually, I'm not trying to brag or anything. I'm pretty good at Smash. I'm just not like an expert level quality, I guess, fighter. So if you compare me to like one of these crazy Twitch streamers that is playing this like thousands of hours a day, I'm not it. I'm not it. I'm not that good. I have one friend in particular that's like quite amazing, and a few coworkers that are like really, really great. But actually two friends, Cal and Justin. I'm looking at you. But other than that, I'm honestly pretty up there. I probably should play it more often so I don't kind of like lose my mojo. But I mean, what is there to say about Smash? I have to do a whole video on this, and I don't want to spend too much time just talking about this one game. But I mean, I've been playing it for a long time, and this is like my favorite version of Smash. You know, everyone was talking about like I loved Melee and how this played. I'm not gonna be really get into the specifics, but I just really love all the characters that they have in this, because you literally have everything that you ever wanted. For me, the last person I wanted was Sora, and they gave it to me. I'm a big Kingdom Hearts guy. I have Kingdom Hearts literally tattooed on my arm, so I love it a lot. I mean, there's not much to say. It's fucking Smash. Like, just, it's one of the best party games, fighting games that you can ever play. Now, this is a fun one to talk about. Super Mario 3D All-Stars. I do think that Mario Galaxy is probably the best 3D Mario game, just because of all the time and commitment they put into it. There's just a lot of fun to be had. I have never 100%ed all of these games, but I've beaten all of them at least once. I was a little bit disappointed in this collector's edition though. I know they have it in HD, but there are just a few other things they could have added to kind of tweak it. But at the end of the day, it's a remaster. It's not a remake or anything, so I guess I should have my expectations a little bit lowered. And I'm glad that they eventually added GameCube support for Super Mario Sunshine, because that wasn't there originally. Other than that, what else can I say? This is one of my favorite games of all time, Super Mario Sunshine. Even though I know it has flaws compared to these two, and I do value Mario Galaxy as like the better game, I just have a lot of nostalgia towards Sunshine. I don't know. So next one on the list is actually one of my favorite games of all time. It's definitely in my top 10. It's Sonic Mania. Now, I have this game digitally, and you'll see that in my digital collection when I get into it. But I really wanted to get a physical copy because it's just a favorite. It's a favorite game of all time. How can you not get a physical copy of one of your favorite games? I didn't even want to unbox it. Like, it's still in the wrapping that you get when you like purchase the games, and I don't feel like there's a reason to unwrap it because I have it digitally. I know what's in it, and I got all like everything basically. Like, I got the DLC already, so I love Sonic Mania. As someone that's grew up with the classic games, like one of my first video games I've ever played was Sonic 2 on the Sega Genesis, and so honestly, I have a lot of nostalgia towards Sonic, even towards like the Sonic Adventure games and Sonic Heroes and Shadow the Hedgehog. I even kind of like Shadow the Hedgehog. I'm probably gonna get a lot of shit for saying that, but yeah. I love Sonic Mania. I don't know what else to say. This is one of the best platformers of all time. The only thing I guess I can say is that if you haven't played Sonic 1, 2, or 3, wait for those remakes that are coming out. They just announced those recently, and I would definitely play those before playing this so you can get the full appreciation. If you are a Sonic fan and you have played the first 3 games and Sonic CD, then go ahead and play this. Now, Sonic Colors Ultimate is kind of strange because I love the Wii original, but this version kind of sucked when it came out. I've been waiting for them to kind of fix all the bugs that I've been hearing about, and I heard the Switch version was the worst version. And it kind of sucks because I pre-ordered this game. This is one of those games that I actually paid full price for, just because I wanted to relive it in HD on a console that didn't, need to be like stationary. It seemed like a game that would be really fun portably. If you want to look up a video on just like how people feel about this game, I'm kind of with the majority of people where I'm just like, it's very disappointing. It's still Sonic Colors, but it's just a very disappointing port of Sonic Colors. Unfortunately, while I love Sonic Colors and I would definitely recommend playing it, I don't know if I can recommend the Switch version just yet. I have it, I ordered it day one, and I'm just waiting for it to be worth it. This is a fun one. Ring Fit Adventure. I don't know what to really say about this game. If you're not someone that works out, then it's probably really not worth it at all. But this game is a hell of a workout. I remember when COVID was at its like peak, this was my workout, and I honestly was able to maintain a lot of like, I guess, body mass and even just my physique for the most part. It wasn't perfect because I wasn't as consistent as I should have been with this. But if you're someone that just does this 3 to 4 times a week, I guarantee you 100% you can lose weight. Honestly, this game was fun and fucking challenging, especially with the accessories they gave you. They gave you something called like the ring. I forgot exactly the exact name. I'll probably like put it over here once I remember, but Ring Fit Adventure is one of those games where it's like I didn't think I would enjoy it because I'm not a fan of like the Wii Sports kind of games, but I was a really huge fan of this. Easy recommend if you're trying to lose weight. It's fucking hard. Like it's an actual workout. It's a good workout. I was sweating every time I played this game, and I don't say that about Wii Sports or anything like that. Like this knows when you're faking it. This knows when you're just like trying to like. I mean, there's some exercises you can kind of cheese, but for the most part, if you actually do it correctly and you take it seriously, no, this is a fucking workout. Now, Pokemon Shield, if you saw my Pokemon collection video, you know that I had not played this at that time, but I have finally played through this game, and I can genuinely say, not a fan. To be perfectly honest with you, I kind of just played through it and I was just waiting for it to be over. I've not done any of the post-game stuff. But the funny thing is, there are moments in this game that I actually, I enjoyed playing through. There was never a challenge, but I actually really liked the exploration in it. I found that to be quite fun, and seeing Pokemon in different areas and in the wildlife. There's a Pokemon game in this collection that I'll talk about that really fixed a lot of the issues that were presented in Pokemon Shield, but I can genuinely say like 5 out of 10. Not the worst game I've ever played. I'm not going to sit here and tell you it's the most offensive Pokemon game or anything. There's a whole slew of videos saying that, but it's not a great Pokemon game, unfortunately. And it definitely feels like it was something that was rushed so they can have an official Pokemon game on the Switch. I know there's a fan base for this game. If you're someone that enjoys just collecting Pokemon, I feel like this game might be fun. But if you're someone that enjoys Pokemon for like story and battling, I wouldn't say this is a Pokemon game for you. But I'm not gonna sit here and tell you it's the worst game I've ever played, because I've played much worse games. So Pokemon Legends Arceus, or is it Arceus? I honestly don't know anymore. I feel like the Pokemon company changes that name very often. Sometimes it's Arceus in like the anime, and then sometimes it's Arceus when they talk about it in like official videos, so I have no idea. And then I've seen commercials where they've called it Arceus and Arceus, so I just don't know at this point. It's kind of funny. So what do I think about Pokemon Legends Arceus? I honestly don't know. I haven't played it yet. It's still sealed, and in fact, I'm one of those people that don't play games when they just release. I wait for everything to be patched up now, because unfortunately that's the way we gotta do things. But I want to finish Skyward Sword, and then I'll get to this one. Actually, this is the next game on my list. There's a lot of cool things I've seen about this, and some spoilers that kind of suck. I don't want to, I guess, talk about those because I've been spoiled, and I'm not trying to ruin it for you. But I'm excited to play this when I get the chance, because this actually seems like the Pokemon game I've been waiting for, that does something different, that actually explores something and has more of a story to it and goes more into the mythology of Pokemon. So I'm excited for it. I'm genuinely excited to play it. I just haven't had the time. To be perfectly honest with you. I've been focusing on just creating music right now, and also just playing Skyward Sword and hanging out with friends and playing a show and just trying to have a balanced life and going to work and paying rent. All that fun adult stuff that I don't want to talk about in this video. But you'll notice in my collection I don't have Shining Diamond or Brilliant Pearl, or is it the other way around? I think it's Brilliant Pearl and Shining Diamond, if I'm not mistaken. But regardless, I haven't gotten those games, but that's just because I have the originals, and from everything I've seen, I don't feel like there's a reason to get that game. This was the game I was actually really excited for, and this is the game I wanted to show the company that I wanted to support. And it's so funny because if you look at like Shining Pearl and Brilliant Diamond, the price of those games have actually gone down, and that never happens with Pokemon games. They usually continue to go up until they're like $100. Now Fire Red's like $300 somewhere in the world, but that game has gone down in value, and this one has not. This is the game I recommend most people to play if they're getting back into Pokemon, because it's going to be a very unique and different experience. I'm sure it's going to be like, from what I've seen in reviews, it's monotonous at some point because you're just collecting Pokemon doing the same thing, but it's still really cool that Game Freak did something different, and that's something I can appreciate. Next game on the list is a game I also is in my backlog, but I'm very interested in trying. It's Octopath Traveler. I was able to get this before the prices started going up like crazy. Just as a heads up, if you are looking for a physical copy of this game, try to get it now. You might be paying a little bit more than retail price right now, but this is one of those games, I'm telling you, that's gonna be like $400 in like few years. I don't know why, especially because I thought this sold well, so I didn't think that it would go up by that price, but it's just one of those games that just happens to just keep going up in price every time I look at it, and I'm just glad I got it for retail price at the very least. But Octopath Traveler is a game I've wanted to play for such a long time. As someone that's a huge Final Fantasy fan, I want to see games remade in this style. They're already doing it for Dragon Quest, and they have that new triangle strategy game that I really want to try. But Octopath Traveler is like just, I love the art style, I love the RPG aspect of it. I've heard from some people that it's a little disappointing, but I think I can look over it because, I mean, I've listened to the soundtrack, even though I haven't played the game, I've listened to the soundtrack dozens of times, and it's one of the best soundtracks from the last like decade of video games. Like, I genuinely mean that. So it has such beautiful music, it looks fun, has a great art design, and maybe I might be a little disappointed in the story, but the fact that Square Enix took their time and made a whole division of people to make more games like this, I'm on board with it, and I'm excited to play it when I get the chance. Mega Man 11. It's actually a game I've been actually playing every now and then between Skyward Sword, and it's really fun. If you guys don't know this, I'm actually a really big Mega Man fan. If you actually look into my 3DS and DS collection, when I talk about the digital games, I mention how I have a lot of the Mega Man titles on that DS system, and I'm a huge fan of those like classic NES games. I haven't gotten into the Super Nintendo or like PS1 games or anything like that, but those first those first 6 NES games, I actually really very much enjoy, to be perfectly honest with you, and I'm excited to like actually go finish this game because it's really fun. It's very challenging, and honestly, I'm glad they brought the challenge back to the Mega Man series, because for a while it was kind of getting easy from, I mean, even though I love the Mega Man X games, it's much easier compared to these ones. And I just love this one. I'll let you know my thoughts at the end when I do Mega Man collection or something, but I want to do a Mega Man retrospective or something down the line. But I love the Mega Man series, and Mega Man 11 is a really fun game. You can actually get this for like $20 now, so if you haven't had the chance to play it, get on it. Now, this is a game I was actually kind of like waiting for years, especially as a Kingdom Hearts fan, as someone that's a very, very big fan of like Final Fantasy and Theatrhythm. If you guys saw my 3DS collection and my Final Fantasy collection, you know I have like the collector's edition of that that came with the case and like the soundtrack and everything. I love those Theatrhythm games. I play them to this day whenever I have spare time. This is the game I wanted. I was a little bit turned off when I first saw this. I'm not gonna lie to you guys though, because of the art style. It's kind of like not the Theatrhythm chibi art style. They just use like in-game models from the Kingdom Hearts series. But after actually playing through it, I'm okay with it, to be perfectly honest with you. It's very similar in a lot of ways, and maybe it's just because I need to play it more. I'm still kind of used to like the touchscreen on the Theatrhythm games, just because that's just how I started playing. So I guess I have Stockholm Syndrome, where I just don't want to use the buttons for rhythm games and I just want to tap with the stylus. But this game is fantastic if you're a Kingdom Hearts fan. Even if you just like Yoko Shimomura's music, you might be really fucking confused by the story at this point, but like, who isn't? It's one of those weird Kingdom Hearts games where I could genuinely say you don't need to know the story to enjoy this game, but knowing the story just benefits it more. I guess it's a lot of other Kingdom Hearts games, I'm just like, don't play it if you don't know the story, because you're not gonna like it, because you're gonna struggle like getting through the fun gameplay to like, because you'll have to watch the cutscenes and everything. But this is one of those where I'm like, you could skip through the cutscenes and you could be perfectly fine. I actually really like it. I don't know what else to say. If you love Kingdom Hearts and the music in it, like, this is like the perfect game. If you're a Theatrhythm fan and you like the Kingdom Hearts music, but you don't even like Kingdom Hearts, this is still like a really fun game to get. So honestly, it's a really fun rhythm game. I would recommend it. Hyrule Warriors Age of Calamity. I got this because I really like Breath of the Wild and I wanted to know more backstory about the characters in this. However, I just haven't had the chance to play it. It's just one of those games I'm like, it's on my backlog. I don't have much to say about it, and I'm not going to lie to the camera and try to make shit up. I just like the idea of this being a prequel, and I want to get into it more. There's always DLC for this too, which is kind of strange, but I genuinely really enjoy that part of it, so I don't know. I gotta give this a chance when I get the chance, I guess. Now, Hades is a game I haven't played yet, but I'm very excited to play. I'm a huge fan of Transistor and Bastion. I haven't quite played that third game that they've released. It's just kind of like a soccer game, but regardless, I'm very excited to play Hades because of that. I really like Supergiant games, and then I'm like not the biggest fan. Like it's not like I'm a Supergiant fan or something, but I always feel like they put very good quality stuff, very consistent work, and the music is always like wonderful. Darren Korb is like, it's really nice just to see like rock and like classical and electronic all like in the same soundtracks. I don't know too much about it, and I want to keep it that way. I don't want to know anything about Hades because all I know is that the gameplay is very fun, and everyone has really good things to say about it, so I just got to give it a chance. But I think out of all the games I played from Supergiant, Transistor is my favorite. That's a digital game that is on the Switch, so I'd recommend getting that if you can find it. Ooh, almost dropped it. But yeah, I'll play this when I get a chance. It's probably gonna be in my top 5 to play soon because it's so short, but I'll get a chance very soon. And the final game that I have in my physical collection is Final Fantasy XII: The Zodiac Age. Still wrapped. It's actually the third game I'm playing after. So as of now, it should be like Skyward Sword, Legends Arceus, and then Final Fantasy XII. Final Fantasy XII is like the last single player Final Fantasy I haven't played. I've played 1 through 10, I've not played 11, and I've played 13, and I played 15. The only other single player one that I haven't played is 12. I haven't gotten to the MMOs, which I mentioned in my Final Fantasy collection video, which is 11 and 14. And that's just because I don't have the time to do that, so I don't want to commit time to something I just won't be able to follow through with. But 12 is one of those where like they have speed up function. It's a single player RPG. I don't have to worry about being connected to Wi-Fi all the time. Yeah, I don't know. This is Final Fantasy 12. I'm really excited to get through this. I heard the music's really fun too. Okay, now that all being said, let's actually go through my Switch and look at the digital games that I have here. So as you can see, I do have quite a bit of digital games on the Switch, some of which I actually paid full retail price for. Like a loser. I actually don't mind paying full retail price for some of these games because if I usually download something on the Switch, it's because I just want it with me at all times, just in case I'm in the mood to play it. The first game I'm going to actually talk about on the list is something I recently bought, which is the Final Fantasy X and 10-2 HD Remaster. I had that on PS Vita as well, but it's just so nice to have it on the Switch because now I can actually play it on the TV very comfortably. Final Fantasy X is actually one of my like top 10 favorite games of all time. 10-2, not so much, but that's okay. The gameplay is still fun in that one. As this game gets older and every time I play through it, I just enjoy it more. It's become my second or possibly third favorite Final Fantasy. When I first played it, it was like the 6th, and now it's like up there. I really like that game. Next one is a game I bought recently, which is Chrono Cross. Chrono Cross recently released the Radical Dreamers edition, and I got it digitally because they don't have any fucking physical copies here in the US, which fucking sucks. The people that are into these old classic JRPGs, they want physical copies, I think, for the most part. It's just nice to have, and I'm kind of disappointed they don't have it. Chrono Trigger is like my favorite game of all time, so Chrono Cross is a game I've always wanted to try. Some people tell me it's not as good as Chrono Trigger, but to be perfectly honest, I wasn't expecting it to be. I just expect it to be a pretty unique and great RPG. In that sense, I'm excited to try it when I get the chance. It's one of those games, again, in the backlog I haven't tried yet, but a game that I have finished recently is actually kind of a funny one. It's Ty the Tasmanian Tiger. I was just talking about this with Pani, but which is a friend of mine, but it's a fun game. Honestly, you could beat it in like 5 hours. It's kind of like one of those Mario clones. It was quite funny. I guess I got it because of nostalgia. It's like one of those games like, oh shit, I forgot that existed. If you have nostalgia for it, go for it. If you have nostalgia towards these types of games where it's like Banjo-Kazooie and Mario and all that stuff, then go for it. But honestly, don't play it if you're like honestly like one of those like people that are like, I'm so serious about my gaming and like everything needs to be so serious. Like, it's not for you. It's for kids 100%, but it is fun and it is quite challenging at times. So I had a fun time with it. I beat it in 4 to 5 hours and it was a cute little game. The next game I actually have is Pokemon Snap. I did buy this one digitally, and the reason being is just it's one of those games I want with me all the time and I don't care to have a physical copy of. You know, it's not a deep, meaningful game. You take pictures of Pokemon, it's cute, and there's a lot of cool things and unique things that you can see in it. A lot of people say it's like the best Pokemon game that Game Freak has made in years. This was a saying before Arceus came out. I don't know. This is like a fun little adventure. It's nothing meaningful, just cute. It's a cute little game to play. The next game on the list is Breath of the Wild. You might have noticed that that was not in my physical collection. That's because I have it physically on Wii U, so I didn't want to double dip and get it twice physically. So I got it digitally on the Switch. It's one of those games that I want with me all the time anyways though, because it's one of those games I can always pick up and play. Gameplay wise, probably best Zelda. Story wise, not the best Zelda. And I think a lot of people that have played this game kind of realize that, I guess, because they didn't focus too much on the story in this one. They made an effort with voice acting and everything, but at the end of the day, to be perfectly honest with you, this one's more about the world and gameplay, and gameplay wise, still one of the funnest games I've ever had the joys of playing. Exploration is a big thing for me, and every time I played this game I felt like I was learning something new. People are still discovering new things, and the sequel looks pretty intense and amazing, so I can't wait till that comes out. One of the best games of all time, to be honest with you, if you're just looking at a gameplay standpoint. Story wise, not so much, but it is what it is. Among Us. Honestly don't know what to say about it. It's Among Us. Animal Crossing New Horizons. This is the game I've been wanting to talk about because this is the collector's edition Switch version of it, so I feel like it's only natural to talk about it. I actually really like it. I wasn't a big fan when it first came out, but to be perfectly honest with you, I've liked it a lot more. I don't have the time commitment like I used to get into this. When COVID was around, I definitely had the time commitment, but I didn't want to at the time because I felt like a lot of features were missing from New Leaf. New Horizons, I don't know what else to say about it. It's one, I guess I've already kind of talked about it when I was kind of talking about the Switch itself, so there's not much for me to add. Skyrim, I actually recently played through Oblivion. I wanted to play through that before I got into Skyrim. I had a fun time with that despite all the bugs and funny memes that have come from that game. And I still haven't played Skyrim. It was just one of those games I just didn't get to play 8-10 years ago when it came out. And I should really get to playing it. It's just one of those games, again, you need a time commitment for it, and I just don't have that right now. It's something I just want to like take my time on, and I don't have the time to take my time with these like exploration games, because then I'll never play anything else. So yeah. Final Fantasy VIII. I've already talked about Final Fantasy VIII extensively in my Final Fantasy collection video, which I've mentioned like 3 to 4 times in this, but I got it for the Switch now. That's kind of it. If you want to know more about my thoughts on Final Fantasy VIII, please watch that video if you're anywhere near interested in this. But I had a great time with the original PS1 version, despite a lot of the bugs, and I'm so glad they finally took the time to remaster it, because for the longest time they remastered literally every other Final Fantasy but 8. They literally went through 1 through 10 and remastered those, and 8 just never got remastered. I think there was something with lost code or something, and they finally just took the time to redo it, so I got it to support. If you want to know more thoughts about Final Fantasy games, just watch that video. If there's any of the Final Fantasy games on this list, I will let you know that I'm not going to be talking about it too in depth, because I have a whole video where I spent time talking about each one. Okami. This is a game that I was just told on and on again to try out, and I didn't try it out for so long, and even though it was long, I loved it. The exploration was fun, the characters are very charming, the art style has aged gracefully, just as well. Like the 2 games in the world that I think will age forever gracefully is, in terms of graphics, is Wind Waker and Okami. But besides the graphics, the game itself is very fun. If you love Zelda games and you just love like Japanese culture, this game is like a chef's kiss. It's beautiful. It's a very beautiful, fun game. The combat on it was very surprising and very fun. It was actually quite hard at times actually, and I like challenge in my video games. So I don't know, it's one of those things that I enjoyed. Next game on the list, it's Dragon Ball FighterZ. I've played this game on and off. I don't play online because everyone whoops my ass. I was trying to get into this because I really love Dragon Ball. I know like I've watched a lot of other anime. I know Dragon Ball's not like the pinnacle of storytelling or anything, but I just grew up with it. You know, if you're someone who's Hispanic, you're gonna grow with, for the most part, you're gonna grow up with Dragon Ball. And Dragon Ball is just gonna be, you know, it's all in our culture, like, to like this show. I don't know why. I'm a Dragon Ball fan. I'm not gonna say it's the best thing in the world, but I'm just a huge fan of the series, and this game was kind of a no-brainer. Next game on the list, Transistor. Wow, this is a game I just talked about just recently when I was talking about Hades, but it's a very fun game. It's digital for Switch. I don't know if they have a physical option. I don't think so. I love the story of it, especially for a musician. Just kind of fits. I don't know, something about just a singer that lost her voice and is trying to like fight her way to like kind of get revenge on that. That's a really cool idea. Her sword is like sentient, so it's kind of cool. Like, I just feel like it's a fun game. You guys should give it a chance. It's a fun action game as well, and has a really cool story. I love the music in this as well. Final Fantasy VII. I don't know what to say about it. It's Final Fantasy VII, the original remaster for Switch. It's not the remake, but I mean, it's still Final Fantasy VII on the Switch. I don't know what else to say about it. It's one of the best games of all time. Not my favorite Final Fantasy, to be perfectly honest with you, but again, I made a whole Final Fantasy collection video that you can watch. But I do love it. It's still my top 5 favorite Final Fantasies, so don't worry. But it's not as not my favorite. My favorite would actually go to Final Fantasy IX, which of course I got on my Switch. That's my second favorite game of all time, Final Fantasy IX. So, of course, it's going to be on the Switch for me. So, if you want to know my thoughts on those Final Fantasy games, again, I've referenced this probably like 10 times already, but just watch that Final Fantasy collection video. I go really in-depth with it without trying to spoil the game, in case you want to give it a shot. To be perfectly honest with you guys, I thought this video was going to be a lot shorter. I guess I had more to talk about in the collection that I had than I thought. I was really worried that I wouldn't have much to say because I didn't have the biggest collection. I don't have the time to play video games like I used to, so when I do purchase something, it's because I really had the intention on playing it. And all of these games mean something to me. Like I either have interest in it, or they just, even if I don't plan to play it, they mean a lot to me. Like I want to have it in my collection, or I want to support like an artist, or I guess a studio that made this piece of art that I think I would genuinely enjoy. So that's been my Switch Collectors video. I hope you really enjoy it, and I guess I hope to make more of these. I'm kind of running out of game collections to kind of talk about unless I start going to franchises. I don't know, I'm having fun doing these collection videos, and I'm so grateful that you guys are watching. So that all being said, take care. Hope you enjoyed this one.